Hi friends, welcome to English Study Point. Today in this video lecture I am going to talk about theory of romanticism in comparative literature. This theory in Britain was ushered in when William Wordsworth and S.T. Coleridge published their lyrical ballads in the year 1798. So this particular movement actually began with the publication of this work called Lyrical Ballads, which was altogether published by William Wordsworth as well as S.T. Coleridge, and this movement marked a shift towards focusing more on or laying more emphasis on emotions, feelings, imagination, and also they tends to observe more natural things, and due to which they try to adopt free verse in their writing rather than following strict literary conventions of the time. Now let's here talk about characteristics of romanticism. So these people choose incidents and situations from common life. This means that whenever they used to write or pen their feelings, they get really much inspired from everyday occurrences and experiences that are relatable to the general population, and this thing encourages a focus on the ordinary aspects of life rather than fantastical or historical events, and they relate or describe incidents in a language really used by common men. So they use common language which is already familiar and accessible to the common person, and they tends to avoid overly complex or formal styles, and this particular thing allows for a direct and clear communication of ideas that resonates with the audience, and they color incidents and situations with imagination. This means they draw whenever they draw experiences, common experiences, so these writers infuse events with creativity and imagination. This involves presenting familiar scenes in a new light or adding imaginative elements to spark the reader's interest and evoke emotions in them. Ordinary things should be presented to the mind in an unusual aspect. This means they depict ordinary objects or situations in a way that brings out their hidden or extraordinary qualities. This challenges the reader's perception and encourages them to see the world from a fresh perspective. And they also make incidents and situations very much interesting by tracing in them primary laws of nature. So, by exploring the fundamental principles of nature within everyday occurrences, writers can deepen the meaning and significance of these incidents, and this approach connects human experiences with the natural world, reflecting the interconnectedness of all sort of life. Now here I am making you explain how these romantic writers make incidents and situations interesting for their audience. First of all, they regard the manner of showcasing things in which they associate ideas in a state of excitement. That means whenever they pen down their feelings, first of all they try to associate ideas in a state of excitement, so that when the readers read their works, so these readers, after reading works of these writers, they found a sort of excitement while reading such sort of works. And then we find that humble and rustic life was chosen because in this condition the essential passions of the heart find a better soil in which they can attain their maturity. This particular line means that these writers choose to focus on humble and rustic life because in this environment basic human emotions can flourish and develop fully. Then these writers are less under restraint and speak a plainer and more emphatic language because in this condition of life our elementary feelings coexist in a state of greater simplicity and more accurately contemplated and more forcibly communicated. This lines means that when we live in under the shade of nature, or when we sit under nature, at that time emotions are more genuine, more original, and powerful. And people when they sit under nature, they are not hindered by any kind of societal norms, and due to which basic emotions while sitting under the shade of nature, they are able that can be expressed more clearly and forcefully due to the simplicity of this particular way of life. And then next line is, because the manners of rural life germinate from elementary feelings and from character of rural occupations, things are easily comprehended and are found to be more durable. Here in this line means that these romantic writers, their behavior and ways of life in rural areas stem from fundamental emotions and the nature of rural work, and this simplicity makes it easier to understand and appreciate life in these settings, and the lessons learned are enduring here. And in such condition, the passions of men are incorporated with beautiful and permanent forms of nature. So here, these romantic writers here conclude that in rural settings, human emotions are intertwined with the beauty and permanence of nature, creating a harmonious relationship between people and their surroundings. So what we get to know from this sentence is that here means romantic writers believe that focusing on simple and rural life allows for a deeper exploration and expression of human emotions unencumbered by societal constraints and intertwined with the beauty of nature. Romantic writers' language is adopted from its real defects, free from all lasting and rational causes of dislike and disgust. This particular line states that the language of romantic writers is chosen for its qualities that are free from significant and logical reasons for displeasure or aversion. This particular line means that romantic language is intentionally crafted to avoid any inherent faults or flaws that might evoke negative emotions. Then, because they communicate hourly with the best objects from which the best part of communication is originally derived. This particular thing suggests that romantic writers or speakers engage constantly with the most ideal or inspiring subjects, which serve as the foundation for the most effective form of communication. By being in close contact with these exceptional sources of inspiration, romantic individuals are able to create powerful and meaningful expressions. And because from their rank in society and the sameness and narrow circle of their intercourse, this thing highlights the social status and limited social interactions of romantic individuals, and also suggests that their place in society and the small intimate group of people they interact with contribute to the simplicity and genuineness of their language. Their connection within a selected circle may lead to a more authentic mode of expressions. Because less under the influence of social vanity, they convey their feelings and ideas in simple and unelaborated expressions. So here we see that romantic individuals are influenced to a lesser extent by social pressures such as vanity or pride. As a result, they are able to communicate their emotions and thoughts in a straightforward and uncomplicated manner without excessive embellishments or artificiality. This particular thing emphasizes simplicity and directness in their expression, which are seen as characteristic of romantic language. In Romanticism, language arising out of repeated experience and regular feelings. This particular thing within the realm of Romanticism, the language that emerges is born from experiences that are often repeated and feelings that are consistent and reoccurring. And the language used by romantic writers and speakers is rooted in personal encounters and emotions that hold significance and are expressed consistently. is a more permanent and more philosophical. This thing asserts that the language of Romanticism is characterized by its enduring nature and its deeper philosophical dimension, and also it suggests that the language utilized in Romantic works has a lasting impact and carries profound philosophical ideas or reflections. This thing signifies that Romantic language is not transient but rather enduring and thought provoking. The monumental work created by Wordsworth, Coleridge, and Southey was carried further by a trio of contemporary Romantic poets in Britain like Byron, Keats, and Shelley. This particular thing acknowledges here means this part acknowledges that the significant contribution of Wordsworth, Coleridge, and Southey to the Romantic movement through their monumentary work or literary works. It then goes on to mention a trio of other influential Romantic poets from the same period in Britain, like Lord Byron, John Keats, and P.B. Shelley. These three poets are recognized for extending and building upon the foundation laid by their predecessors. The enormous corpus of Romantic poetry from these three, together with that of Wordsworth and Coleridge, set a benchmark. This particular line emphasizes that the combined body of work produced by Byron, Keats, and Shelley, in addition to that of Wordsworth and Coleridge, establish a standard or benchmark within the realm of Romantic poetry, and their collective output is regarded as a defining reference point for the Romantic literary tradition, representing a high watermark in terms of influence, creativity, and artistic achievement. And through this point, we also get to see that there is a kind of progression of the Romantic movement in Britain, starting with the foundational works of Wordsworth, Coleridge, and Southey, and evolving with the significant contributions of other writers living during that time in a same period, like Byron, Keats, and Shelley. Together, these poets shaped a rich and extensive body of Romantic poetry that not only contributed to the movement but also defined a standard of excellence for generations to come. Now, here are some examples of French Romantic writers, which include Honore de Balzac, Théophile Gautier, and last one is Alexander Dumas Feur. Here are examples of German Romantic writers like Friedrich Schlegel, August Wilhelm Schlegel, Franz Schubert, whereas examples of Russian Romantic writers can be Alexander Pushkin, Alexander Borodin, and Mikhail Glinka, etc. Then with this video lecture ends here. Hope this video lecture will help you in your exams. Thank you.